Welcome back to the panel here at the ZOWIE Divina Women's Invitational. We already saw an explosive match won by none other than ZOWIE, the very end on Sanhok, after, of course, crossing over the river and traveling 2,500 kilometers in the game. Now we're going to be entering match number 2 in just a second. Is there anyone in particular that you feel kind of got the short end of the stick of last game that you're expecting to perform better this time? It's solos. I understand. Yeah. You expect the unexpected, or you have to, and one game isn't indicative of a player's entire performance. But I don't know, is there anyone that you are hoping to see more of, Phil?
I mean, here's the thing, right? Just like you said, Cameron, it is solos, 48 players. It's going to be like that. There's going to be one game where you go out early. So, I mean, I don't know. It's the short end of the stick, maybe, but it's also just the nature of PUBG solos.
Sure. Not only solos, but also being on Sanhok just emphasizes that even more, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a rough map. There's what is it? It's got probably the most river work, like river to land ratio. The hills are like super tight and rolling that block a lot of vision. The trees block a lot of vision. You have the tallest grass in the game. You have the closest like collection of bushes on average, or like the bush per GDP or what, I don't know. I'm trying to throw some real world lingo in it. I'm just not doing it successfully, but nonetheless, it is a very difficult map to traverse.
I think that's the takeaway, Cameron. It is the most difficult map to maneuver around. Every bush could have a player lying in it. Every choke point, which you mentioned, there's a multitude of. There's three sections of the river, right?
Yeah.
And there's different bridges, land bridges, man-made bridges. I mean, there's everything, right? And it's going to be an incredibly difficult map to maneuver, and it sort of plays into what we saw: transition time versus placement.
I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. There's a reason when this map was on test servers that they called it Codename Savage, because that's just the nature of the game.
They did. I actually forgot all about that, but it was called Savage for a time.
I think there's a pretty good reason for that. That's not what they wanted, though. I mean, they said it from the very start. We just want a high explosive map where people can fight off, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I actually really like how the 3 maps that we have in the game right now, about to be 4, but at least for the 3 that we have and we're most comfortable with, have a very nice. They all have their own identities, and Sanhok is the aggressive. This is the fighting one. It's got the tightest, most concentrated loot distribution around, and you are gonna be in a fight pretty much every 50 to 100 meters that you walk.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron, we were just looking at Paleolite, one of the players from Finland. You asked me if there was a player that I thought kind of got the short end of the stick. Well, it certainly was Paleolite in that game. She was in the boat. She ended up hopping out, trying to avoid the shot of her opponent. And if there's one memorable moment from that game for a player that I know has skill that could do way better than that, it's going to be Paleolite.
Oh, yeah, knocking yourself with the boat especially. That's always a rough one.
Boat to the back of the face.
It
hurts.
I've been on the wrong end of that situation before as
think
well.
We all have.
I think that's probably the most rage-inducing thing that can happen in this game.
And that's the thing. It's 3 days of PUBG, 5 games a day. In the first game, if that happens, you got to have the mental fortitude to say, listen, I'm going to just wipe that from my history. It's a bad game. I'm going to do whatever I can to reset and go into games 2, 3, 4, 5 of the day with a fresh mindset.
Yeah, we talk about how having 15 games, that gives players a lot of room to make those mistakes and be able to kind of come back from it. But at the same time, as you said, it doesn't just happen naturally. But what does happen naturally is the plane lifted off because we are going into round number 2. I'm going to take another step back and throw it over to my casters.
There you go. Plane is in the sky. Pretty straightforward one. Nakaro up towards Camp Bravo. And well, tell us a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, it's going from southwest over there towards the northeast, Toby. A little bit different plane than we saw in game number 1. It's going to be favored down a little bit towards that southeastern side of the map. So if you were going up towards Camp Alpha or Hot 10, it's going to be a bit of a stretch. But we're going to have to kind of wait and see where all of these players will be departing, whether or not we're going to see some shifts, or whether or not it's going to be the status quo, sending a lot of players down to Painan.
I mean, that's exactly it. We saw 7 players in Painan last game, only 1 in boot camp. That has to be changed up. But as I say that, there's still quite a few players making their way down to the old river town down there. But as well are people going up towards boot camp. Vendetta was the only one in this area last game. Looks like she's going to get company this time around.
And with that, all of our players have been kicked out of the cargo hold of that plane. It's going to be going on towards the next runway in game number 3. But we've got game number 2 to be played out here with all of our players spreading out around the jungle trying to find that loot location that will be optimal for them, but it's already going to be popping up as Dabby Jung will be taking some shots, forcing her to retreat back into the first floor of this building, hopefully to try to find some much-needed armor.
No vest, no helmet, nothing to work with. Backs out. Super smart play from her. Now she will get at least this one compound to get looted up on. I think what happened here was she got the Vector immediately, turned around, went for the kill, but once fire came in return, she was like, you know what, nope, I'm going to back off here. I don't want to take this fight just yet.
Yeah, so we did see some shifts out of Painan. Sanson's not going to be there. Miss Gucci is not going to be there either. But it seems like Little Big Whale just cannot avoid this conflict. She's going to be dropping right next to an enemy opponent over here. I guess a little bit off west of Corey, a little bit off west of center, but it's going to be Doopsy, the same exact player. So both of these contestants here in the ZOWIE PUBG Invitational are going to be expecting one another in this area.
And look at where she's heading at the minimap. This is the issue. There will be people around you pretty much no matter where you go. She's coming up there, no vest on, does have the Vector, but only boosters to work with. If this fight prolongs, it's going to be very hard for her to win this one. Could go out early on here in game number 2 as well.
Looking over here at Zyvan and Sminty. Sminty of the Pittsburgh Knights will be spotting out Zyvan right there with nice shots coming out of the MK47 Mutant. She picks up the first kill of game number 2.
Just an unfortunate scenario. I mean, there's no way for her to be prepared for this, but look at this Little Big Whale. Fortunately, does hear steps and probably saw an open door inside. Yelena went down somewhat early last game too. Has the M24 in hand, but now let's see. Little Big Whale, one of the top fraggers yesterday. Can she pull this one off coming into the tournament? No no sights though for Yelena.
Yeah, here's the thing. Little Big Whale, she has the Vector, but she does not have an extended mag inside of it. One of the almost necessary components of this gun if you want to make it viable on any map. But Little Big Whale did disengage off of that compound where Doopsy was, just over there to the north, but right in to another enemy presence. Yelena, M24 prepped and ready on the left side of the tree, trying to pre-fire it to catch out Little Big Whale. Not able to do so, as Little Big Whale is going to be popping out some utility. A Molotov coming in at the front side of this building, possibly some zoning pressure as she tries to at least maneuver this.
Yeah, this is not going to be easy. No helmet, no vest for her, but as you see in the meantime, Gucci and Yamroll fighting off things here. Headshot coming in. There you go, one more to the chest. UMP, just in general, SMGs, when you have no armor, it's going to tear you down so quickly.
Yeah, it absolutely will, and we saw that displayed right there as Miss Gucci rather, goes out in 47th position, but Little Big Whale still going to be holding on, no helmet to her name outside of this compound, as all of these players are now starting to find themselves amidst a little bit of chaos as Ting takes a lot of damage, dropped down to 5 HP as Lele, AKM prepped and ready, a ton of rounds in reserve, just waiting for her opportunity to pick up her first kill of the game.
Yeah, first they did get popped, so a little bit of meds coming in return, but as I said here before, the AK, this is AK against AK. No meds, no helmets, no vests. I mean, it's unfortunate. There you go. Lele gets herself picked up some Kevlar, but we talk about how deadly the SMGs are. AK's up close with no vest, that's 2 shots to the body and you're dead.
Yeah, if there's one gun you certainly don't want to be taking damage from early game, it's going to be that AKM. And with some of the spray control that we've seen with the AKM from these women here in this tournament, it's absolutely insane. The skills that they possess and the damage that they are able to apply to their enemy players across the map as Lele continues to pick up a little bit of loot. Slowly moving, though, making sure to check all of these angles, trying not to get crept up on by an enemy threat in this area.
And you see she's playing it really smart, despite the fact that she has the fight with one person down there. She has her kind of cornered. She knows where she has her pinned in. And at that time, like, she's using the gap time in order to, instead of just holding an angle, to make sure that there's no one else coming up from behind. Because, you know, once shots are fired, people will be drawn in.
That's exactly right. Rachel has been spotted out by Lady Aceto. A smoke coming out as well as frag grenades trying to get this zoning pressure. As we see Lady Aceto peeking the left side of the rock, where there is smoke in PUBG, there is definitely going to be an enemy presence as she continues to maneuver around this hard cover, trying to see through this concealment as Rachel looks like she's going to be disengaging off of this, trying to get at least a new position to try to at least take some fire from or possibly retreat even further.
Utilizing the smoke to perfection. She knew where she had her. She lined it up perfectly, so she has a gap to run in. And as you said yourself, repositioning and getting into a better spot should that fight occur later on in the game. And instead of realizing, you know what, there's no reason for me to try and hunt down this one, I still need some more meds, still need some things to pick up, and she will go back inside the compound.
Phase 1 going to be closing out right now, about 1 minute and 30 seconds left until that blue zone will be touching the edges of circle number 1. And more players are starting to make that transition, that Very dangerous transition across this jungle map. Mamataso going to be spotted out by Sunny the 4 times on top of the SLR. One connection to be had. Will she be able to find the second and third? No, she won't. And that's going to be Mamataso able to get inside of this shack, get some meds going, but she's got to be careful. The blue zone will be coming in, and although it's only phase number 1, the blue zone damage certainly going to be minimal. She has to start thinking about what exit route she could take here.
Not only that, but she went out, I believe, 46th place last game. She does not want to repeat that. Oh, just exactly makes it around the corner. And for Sunny as well, she's close to the circle, and she knows that Mamataso has to make the run up, and look at how open of a run this is.
Wide in the open, utilizing whatever type of defilade, whatever type of hill cover she can to make this move around the northwestern side of the circle. But Sunny is going to be doing the exact same thing, making sure that she cuts off any entry point that Mamataso can take. This is a smart play right now from Sunny, very aggressive play, something you're not used to seeing this early in the game.
Makes the run down around. She really wants to contain it. You can see, I mean, one thing is that they played together yesterday, but they have the same mindset. She knows, you know what she would do is flank around the side. Sunny is prepared for this. She's making the run down here on the side, looking around, trying to see if she can find her. And now she might just actually have overpeaked this one a little bit, expecting her to be further down because, yeah, as you can see, Mamataso actually made it in around the backside.
Yeah, here's the thing. Sunny's going to be getting right inside of the safe zone before she opts to turn around. Not doing so just yet, but it could be only a matter of time before these two players end up spotting each other and re-engaging on this battle that had been raging on just a few minutes ago. As we see phase number 2, it has popped. It will be shifting off of this northern position, forcing our players up near Tatmok and Cal to make a bit of a rotation, but possibly right into one another as Ting and Doopsy are getting dangerously close to one another on top of the hill. Ting going to be looking around with the AKM, not spotting out her enemy threat nearby, not hearing the footsteps either.
Little Big Whale did manage to get out of the compound. Oopsie, of course, wanting to get that kill just before, but now she might just be able to net herself a solid 10 points off of Ting. Could she catch her off guard? We know how deadly the UMP is up close, but we also know how skilled of a player Ting is in return. She is one of those players that can turn that 180 and get the kill down. Has the AK in hand, coming around the corner now. I'm not sure if she heard her.
Yeah, you got to think about that. Doopsy has the UMP prepped and ready. Both of these players will be taking this slow, but it's going to be Doopsy with the first shots with the UMP. Spots out Ting on the right side of the tree and will be taking her down in 44th place.
Great double peek. She comes out immediately, has the surprise element. She backs down behind the rock, so when she peeked, she didn't see her. She's forced to take the peek on the other side. Double peeks out. Boom, there you go. Gets her down. Super clean play by Doopsy.
Yeah, Doopsy had to do that right there. She couldn't take on the battle. UMP versus the AKM. The AKM will come up victorious time and time again. The aim punch is much too strong coming out of those 7.62 rounds.
Now we see here Elizabeth and Lizzie making their way in. Sanson opting to take the boat here. Not something you see done too often, but of course she was in the Northwestern Island alongside Xia Yu, winner of last game. And as we see the circle opting to go over on the eastern side, that's, well, I mean, pretty smart play, wanting to play it safe. Again, you said it yourself, it's only circle 1, but burning through those boosters, burning through those bandages early, we know how little loot some of these players have. It could actually come into cost you.
Yeah, but here's the trade-off. Meds for placement points. That is certainly it's a good trade. It is a buy that I would make time and time again. If you asked me, Toby, if you said, hey, Esquire, will you trade me placement points for meds? I'd say yes.
You'll trade anything for placement points.
Any day. That's exactly right, because those placement points are going to be so incredibly necessary if you want to compete at the top of the leaderboards here with 48 women, the best women from around the globe here playing PUBG.
Look at this, Mamataso and Sunny, despite the fact that they turned each their direction just before, the magnet is pulling them back together. Sunny, she has an idea. Somebody's around here. Somebody's around. Where is she? Where is she? But does not spot her just yet. And this could actually come to bite her because she's running around a lot in the open, making a lot of sound. And there you go, Mamataso with a triple hit in return. There was no play to make there. That's the issue with these solos. You could take it down so fast that there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and that's got to feel good for Mamataso right there. She was taking shots from Sunny just a few minutes ago, but now she ends up finding Sunny and taking her down, picking up the kill. Out goes Sunny in 43rd position. But inside of this warehouse, Little Big Whale, we saw her pick up a kill early on in the game in the kill feed, but now she's dangerously moving up towards Lele, who is prepped and ready with the AKM right on that door.
This is not going to be easy play for her to make. She will have to make the reaction play. Does have the vector in hand, but oh, spots her down to low HP though. Comes across, fortunately so. Lele on the hunt now. She knows she has the hits, and there you go once again. Little Big Whale falling off shot, going down early.
Yeah, this is smart play that you saw come out from Lele right now. Resetting the position right there, closing the door, knowing full well that if a player comes through, has to open that door, they will be caught in a brief but deadly animation, and that's exactly what happened right there. As we see now, Cece prepping up on top of Coney on the opposite side of the road here. Needs to be careful, though, because Nonomiya is right up here to the, I believe, the south of this position.
It's flying around with the camera. It gets a little tricky sometimes with the whole coordination in that regard. But as you see, yeah, you're saying yourself, this is interesting because we talked about will they be edge or will they be center? What we see here now, actually, the thing that I see mostly happening is if you're in the circle and you have a compound, you're going to stay in it. I mean, that's pretty much what we're seeing. Now the circle, does actually hard shift south. Look at how many people will be forced to make this transition. And on the flip side, on Kira, on Roxy, on the southern side, they will have so much room to work with.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough circle to work with. A great migration will have to happen up there from the northern side of things. And the players who ended up landing near Corey, which was center circle on circle number 1, are going to be rewarded for this. As we see now Katarina prepping down here on the hill. It looks like she's in the compound right next to where Eto is currently hiding out as well. But this is sort of the point of the game where everyone has sort of found a little bit of safety, a little bit of a buffer zone in between them and their enemies to start making those transitions.
For now.
But Toby, it's going to quickly change.
Exactly, it's going to change. I can tell it right now, there's simply not room for 41 individual players in this next circle. So many players, I'm going to say almost half the server is on the northern side up here. There's going to be chaos beyond chaos, because not only do they have to run south, but look at the road from boot camp making their way across there. It's going to be really tough to play around. Also, you have the Bahan area on the eastern side. You simply cannot make that push without, at some point, being forced into the open.
Already seeing those transitions start to happen. Going to be Rocket. She's got the QBU prepped and ready. This DMR is the favored weapon, the favored DMR. It's so incredibly good to use. It's got low recoil and high impact, and she's going to be trying to put out whatever damage she can up here from the northeastern side. But it's going to be action popping off here as Emerald spots out Smile Queen. It applies a lot of damage with that QBZ, dropping Smile Queen down to about 35 HP. But now she's not going to be letting up. The pressure continues to come out with a nice grenade on the right side of the shack. And it's going to be finding its connection. And down goes Smile Queen in 39th position.
Simply no counterplay to it. Great, great play. You got the Emerald spotting out and immediately takes shots towards Sanson. Again, this was a really great play, but look at the third party coming in from Kaupatnam. This is the name of the game of Sanhok. If you want to take shots, you have to always have a backup position to fall to. Did not work out. Shots being fired once again on Elizabeth now. Not having the best of days in yesterday's tournament will show up here, get herself a finish up onto Doopsy.
Yeah, and what gave Elizabeth that advantage right there, it was a QBZ versus a UMP, and the aim punch. The damage from those 5.56 bullets were just too strong in that engagement, and that's exactly why you saw her come up on top of that engagement. But more of these players are starting to maneuver themselves, starting to get closer and closer as they make that trek from north to south, and it's only going to become deadlier and deadlier from here on out, Toby.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for anyone in the northern side. The fact that we have Crory taking up so much space of this new circle, it's going to be extremely tough. I mean, there's going to be so many people, and this is the issue. This is where you say, oh, why there's so many people on the edge late. This is exactly what causes it. When you have those hard shifts early on in the game, going to each corner of the map, it's only going to make it tougher. But Dabby, there you go. MyPie made it for our last game. This time around, though, not so much, going out in 36th.
So Dabby says, hey, casters, I heard you talking about the Vector being an extremely strong weapon in close-range situations, but look what I can do with the Vector at long range. A nice spray coming out, landing a beautiful headshot right there, picking up Dabby's first kill of the game.
And great reaction play, too. She gets the kill and immediately runs back to the wall. This is what I talked about. You need to have a backup position. Gets the kill, runs back to the wall. She knew that there were people inside the compound. She's ready for that fight immediately after.
Yeah, it's sort of like a game of chess, Toby. They always say you got to prep your moves 1, 2, 3 moves in advance, and that's exactly what we saw played out right there. But over here on the northeastern side of things, Sminty once again going to be the gatekeeper on this side of the circle, but she's got to move as well. She's not going to be safe inside of phase number 4, knowing full well enemy threats will be presenting themselves off of this northeastern position.
You did see the circle shift somewhat away from Crory, so that's fortunately not going to be so much of a factor, but it does just mean that all these northern players will have that small of a bottleneck to maneuver their way through, trying to come into this next circle. You see Helen outside the circle, still trying to roll on in, Mask getting a kill onto Kaupatnam as well. And this, we're reaching the point now here in the 4th to 5th circle where everything will just turn into utter chaos.
Coney landing a nice M24 body shot right there as she repositions herself inside of the blue zone, dipping in to make that trek. The blue zone, Toby, it has received some changes over the last few months, and it is sort of favorable in these early game situations to dip back in and try to mask your position from your opponents.
For sure. It's really, really hard to see through on both sides, actually. Yeah, as you said, I mean, you want to play around on the edge here, trying to see if you can get yourself the better spot. And now you see Karina sitting down here trying to get the shot, but it's going to be Terran with the triple tap from the M16 straight to the chest and face of Karina. Not so much more she can do. She's going to be down and out.
Terran, one of the strongest female players from North America right there, displaying her skill incredibly well as she continues on here. 30 players left in the game just as we pass that 15-minute mark, and it's going to be Sanson picking up another SLR kill, this time on top of Lizzie as they continue on. But Toby, it's going to continue on in terms of engagements. The pressure will continue to be applied from all players remaining on the map.
This northern side of the map is going to be absolutely packed with people. Wow, May, what a great control, taking out Rachel. Headshot to the back of the face. Rachel, I feel bad for you. There's nothing you can do about that one.
No, I mean, there really isn't. When someone has that good of spray control and they're going to be putting out that damage, it's only a matter of time. If you can't find that cover in a second or two, you're going to be dropped out of the game.
Literally 2 bullets in, you need to be behind the rock. I mean, it's just impossible. These players are playing at such a high caliber. There's... and it's unfortunate because sometimes, it's more often than not, it's the other talented players that get taken up by it, and no matter how good you are, there's just nothing you can do. But Sanson making the run up here towards Mamataso.
Here's the thing, Sanson did not want to go out that early either, but she was caught up upon. It came down to who spotted out who first, and it's going to be Mamataso picking up a nice kill, her second kill of the game, as she continues on. The pressure to be applied, though, from the third parties.
Had a rough first game, she's making up for it here in game number 2. Gets spotted out. Now, though, Mask on the other side of things, getting the angle onto one, but Mamataso will go down. People heard her shooting. The map's getting smaller, and this northern side of the map is only going to get more clusters.
And that's going to be Mask of the Pittsburgh Knights from the United States of America, picking up her third kill of this game. She was able to have a pretty good game in game match number 1, but she's going to be absolutely dominating here in the mid-game of game number 2, spotting out Anakin just on the right side of the shack, knowing full well that Anakin has to make this push out of the blue zone, just trying to prep and ready herself for these ultimate shots that will be coming out as she crosses the other side of the rock.
New circle pops is going to go once again in Elizabeth's way. She's been playing dead center for a while. Will be able to stay around that area. CC does have the compound to work with. Not only that, but also gets herself a crate. And now Mask, once again active in the kill feed. 4 kills here in game number 2. She's pulling up, and she's playing really well right now.
Yeah, Mask is on the train right now, and she says this train doesn't stop as she continues on here, picking up, yes, her 4th kill of the game, but she's going to have 15 more opportunities to add to that kill count. That's 40 points alone just from kills, as we do see Paleolite go down in 19th position. Players are beginning to drop like flies, and grenades are beginning to just drop all around the map. No red zones in competitive, but it certainly feels like it.
Sissy making the run down here through the quarry. That's actually kind of interesting. But again, if you go out in the open, that's a spot that people wouldn't expect you to be in. Might just be her gateway to safety coming into the next circle. You see Num Num trying to make the run alongside Proxy. 2 pairs that both made the run down from the far southern side. Proxy all the way around in Ducks representing GRT down here. And now, though, she's going to be taking a lot of fire in return. Num Num, though, has to make the run forward herself, too. She's trying to make the way inside the circle. It's still pushing her. She needs to continue moving on forward.
Yeah, this is a tricky area of Sanhok to try to maneuver. The Corey presents a very unique scenario. Oh, we see Mask going out as well to the hands of Helens. AKM, 14 players remaining as more and more shots continue to ring out around the map. Phase 5 is not going to be friendly to anyone, and CZ spots out Nonomiya on the opposite side of the quarry with a few taps from the M16. Will be taking her out of the game.
This quarry is mine and mine alone, says Sissy. She will be able to stay put down there for a little while, but New Circle's going to pop in just a short moment. Will be interesting to see where we're headed, because nobody's really centered right now. Elizabeth, somewhat in the middle of things, but as you can see in the edges here, really hard to play around. New Circle pops, and it's going south. Nobody whatsoever are sitting inside this circle right now. This is going to be extremely interesting, but look who made it into the 8 once again. Xia Yu. She loots the top northwestern compound up there, or northwestern island, and she's been slowly tracking her way down here, avoiding confrontation, and now she's coming into the top 9th game.
Yeah, so with this circle, it really comes down to who is going to make the move first, who is going to establish that dominant position before every other 8 of the players on the map are able to find the position of their own, as shots will be ringing out on the eastern side of things. It's going to be Polly taken down by Yasa quickly thereafter. Cacao gets dropped down by Elizabeth as well. 7 players remaining here in the final minutes of game number 2.
This is going to be extremely tough. You have Xiaoyu on the northern side. You got Tanya up there as well. Elizabeth is trying to hold off the ankles for everyone. I mean, she's been in this exact spot for so long time now that it could hold her down. But Xiaoyu does go down in the end. 7th place coming in for her. But having 2 almost top 5 placements off of 2 first games. That's extremely well played by her. But look at the northern side. Barely anyone in. And Tanya now outside the circle tries to make the run on forward.
Yeah, consistency is going to be key here. It's the name of the game in competitive PUBG. Whatever you can do to at least in this tournament setting, top 10 is what you're going to need. The kill points especially are going to add to that as well, as Roxy Proxy going to be maneuvering these cliffs right here, trying to spawn out enemy threats down below her.
Yeah, she has a really good spot to play from because in just a short second time, there's going to be no one in the southern side of her. So all she'll have to focus on is what's uphill, and she has a really good amount of cover sitting down in that rock formation down there. Sissy has to get inside the circle just a little further forward. Let's go. Let's go. Get in there. And she should be in bed now.
And as she continues up this hill, she might be spotting out Yasa on the opposite side of this, just off to the northeast. More shots, though, continuing to come out. It's going to be Majesty's Charlie finding connections with the AKM on top of Roxy Proxy. Now 5 players remaining just past that 21.5-minute mark. The final moments of game number 2 about to erupt in a hard shift down to the south. Yet again, Toby, no one is going to be safe.
Oh, this is so interesting. You had Roxy Proxy sitting so well inside the circle down there, peeked at the wrong moment. Majesty Charlie came up, took the shots on her, and knowing that she just killed Roxy down there, I was going to say she should probably make the push down the hill, and actually see her making that little sneaky movements forward on the chest down in that direction. But Tanya and Elizabeth up on the northern side will both have to push on down the hill towards the rocks, towards Crory.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Toby, the first person to move inside of that previous circle will be rewarded for it, but unfortunately, you have to be able to hold that position.
Yeah.
Roxy was the first to move, but immediately going to be spotted out and taken down. As our final 5 players start to maneuver, it's going to be Yasa picking up a nice kill on top of Cece with the QBZ, as our 4 final players now continue to maneuver this terrain, and that is going to be Elizabeth taken down. Nice shots coming out from Tanya.
And you see this, as soon as shots are fired, that's when the yellow players move. It becomes a domino effect. Oh, I can third party this, and then everyone else thinks the same, and all of a sudden you think, okay, maybe other people have the same idea as me, and they back off. Shots are fired. Wow, Charlie, great connected shots, third party in the engagement there. Now it's a 1v1. She knows what she has in the space. She dies to the circle. She dies to the zone. That's so unfortunate. Took too much damage. And Charlie, we talked about her yesterday, and holy moly, what an interesting game right there.
Yeah, I mean, what a game coming out from Majesty Charlie right there, picking up 4 kills and a chicken dinner. That is the way to rack up points here in game number 2.
It sure is. Fortunate win there in the end. She knew she had the position. Believe she could have won the fight either way, but getting a little bit of help from the circle does manage to pull on through.
Smiles and high fives all around. You can tell that Majesty Charlie is absolutely ecstatic with her performance.
Ecstatic enough to dab, and I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty exciting. You got to be pretty excited to do that in this day and age.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So the thing that stood out to me the most in that game was that there were a number of hard shifts.
Yeah.
But what made them unique is that it was almost like ping-ponging back and forth. We can get into more specifics of how some of these players played in just a little bit, but I wanted to ask on your opinions on if you get a hard shift down to the south, in a way, isn't another hard shift up towards the north kind of counteract that and give like a lending hand to the teams coming in from the north? Like, is that even, in fact, better than just going dead center?
I don't think it is, because when you have these hard shifts on towards the south, what people will, I don't know if it's just a mental thing, but what people will tend to do is try and go around the sides and make it in from the sides or like from the underneath of the southern circle. When they all try to do that, they get out on the side. Now this next circle pops north, and it just becomes a cluster getting into that circle once again.
And did that happen in the mid game though? Because what you're talking
it happened
about
right
the
there when
wrapping
people tried to get down south and the circle went back up. You would think that you just have all the people in the northern side coming straight back down, but they were all trying to make their way in from the sides, and Crory playing a huge factor in there.
That's true. Crory, I mean, with the density that Sanhok has, if there's any sort of part of the map that it is very, I guess, challenging, it's going to have a greater effect on the area around it. And Quarry was certainly in the game for a while.
Yeah, it was. I mean, almost until the end there, right? I mean, we saw some crazy kills happen in end Quarry, which is, again, the most unique feature, I think, of Sanhok.
Yeah, it's quite powerful. You don't see that many people go inside, but that's because it's... Why would you give yourself a low ground? Why would you basically put yourself in a bowl? There's really not that much cover, especially if you're getting peeked from above. So kind of going inside, very few players went in because it's almost a death trap. You usually go in only when it's last case scenario, which we did see happen by, I forget who it was.
Cece
who
was
taken
in
up
there.
by,
Yeah, Cece was in
Cece
there.
took out a player who was kind of forced down by it being a last case scenario, wasn't able to get those shots with the M16 on the other player. We're talking hypotheticals at this point, so it's hard for people who don't have this image in their head already to be able to track what we're talking about. But nonetheless, another great game. 4 kills at the end for Charlie, and that's actually a fair big number of kills.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good number of kills, a good number of placement points that she's going to be getting.
Of course.
And that's going to propel Majesty Charlie up the leaderboards game.
She had a good placement last game, too. I mean, she did end up going down to the blue herself, kind of ironic, considering how she won this one. One of the lead aspirators to try and leave out in Painan. The fact that Painan was in for so long forced so many players down in that game, and unfortunately took her down. And look at this play right here. Lele, knowing she has a damage down on to Little Big Whale, just comes back immediately after getting the kill. Great play.
Really good chase out, absolutely. And this grenade was cooked. It could have been cooked maybe a little bit better, but it did the job, and so you can't criticize it too much.
Are you that kind of guest?
I don't think you can criticize
you
it
didn't
at
cook
all.
it. You didn't cook it just well enough.
Yeah, like half a second.
It was on point, and it was perfect.
Cameron says, send it back to the kitchen.
Back
not
to the kitchen,
cooked
not
well
perfect.
enough.
Not enough for me.
cooked.
Yeah, not enough for me. I like my steaks perfectly medium,
Perfect.
perfectly medium rare. If it's anything above, if it's a temperature above it, then I'm sending it back and
Send
I'm
it
leaving
back.
At least you didn't say well done.
I'm very aware how to eat a proper. I'm aware of how to eat a proper
They should have
steak.
exploded herself, right?
Yeah, well done. That's it. That's exploding in your hands right there.
Yeah, right. Sanson does make it up the hill, but look at the reaction play from Tauser. She hears the steps, immediately turns around, gets the kill.
And I want to point that out because, again, we're seeing a lot of people playing on the edge and a lot of people still in the blue, which I understand the timidness of trying to go center. But if you're on the edge, you're going to have to move in eventually. And especially if it's a hardship, which you pretty much should expect every time, just so for a worst case scenario, you're going to be running a lot.
Yeah.
So at what point do we expect players to start to recognize that and to take longer but slower movements inside the circle?
I think one of the main issues with this is that when you see the circle pop, the people that are already in, which is oftentimes the majority, they will be sitting in that compound, they will not want to leave. The fact of the matter is, once you're running around in Sanhok, if you're not in the open, there's going to be compounds and areas where they will spot you, and it's just going to be so hard to hold those angles. I think that's why people are forced on the edge, because they simply move too slow.
Very few of the players in this lobby, this is something I was thinking about during the game, very few of these players actually have competitive experience.
From PUBG.
PUBG competitive
Yeah,
experience.
sure.
Sure. Which is a very, very different playstyle than solos matchmaking.
Absolutely.
Oh, but before we get into that,
第二场比赛顺利吃鸡的选手，他是来自于德国的 Charlie。那这里呢，我也请他面对镜头，跟所有的观众朋友打一个招呼。Charlie, please say hi to the audience and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Charlene and I come from Germany.
I can feel that you are very excited, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What happened in the final circle?
Really, I don't know what happened. I just killed the. No, I'm not killed the last guy. It's I don't know what she did. She died in the blue zone.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't
surprise.
know.
That's a big surprise, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to translate. So wait for a
It's okay,
moment.
it's okay.
好，那我刚刚就问他说，在我们决赛圈的时刻呢，那他当时是怎么样的一个情势？他说，对于他来讲，其实他已经准备好要去进行这个1v1的战斗了，但是没有想到最后呢，对方竟然是死在这个毒里。那对于他来说，也是相当的讶异。Okay, the second question: Is this your first time in China?
It's my first time in China, I guess.
Oh, have you visited anywhere?
We visited Shanghai Tower at Monday.
Oh.
It was really nice, really, really nice. All the lights and awesome.
Okay, beautiful view, right?
Yeah.
好，那这是呢他第一次来到中国。那在星期一的时候呢，他也去参观上海的东方明珠，他觉得景色相当的优美，而且整个的灯光也是让他印象深刻。Okay, the final question: What is the key for you to win the round?
Play slow and always stay confident.
哦，我刚刚就问他说，那他觉得自己的制胜关键是什么呢？他觉得就是要慢慢来，要 play slow， 而且呢要保持自信，对自己所有的判断、所有的想法都要有自信。好，那这边呢，我们再一次恭喜 Charlie，congratulations again。
Thank you. Thank you.
好，那接下来我们就把现场交还给解说老师。
playing slow. So we don't know exactly what she means, but I can't help but kind of not like that answer because I feel like an easy translation for playing slow would be playing on the edge, being stuck out in the blue, and that's something that a lot of players are still doing even after, I'm assuming they watched VODs. And it's sure,
Yeah.
yesterday was a solos event. It was completely different from what we have today. But to see that a lot of these players yesterday kind of defaulted onto that, at what point do we expect these players to kind of recognize the general meta of the game and start to adjust and maybe go center faster, at least for a couple of them?
Well, here's the thing. I think once players get a little bit more comfortable with the points that they're able to accumulate, we're going to see a little bit more aggressive play come out. The name of the game on day number 1, rack up as many points as you can. It's pretty much the competitive way, right? Day number 1, it's going to be an unknown in terms of the lobby. These players have a few scrims under their belt, but no actual solo games. Just 1 played out today, now 2. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but I don't think we're going to see any crazy plays until day number 2.
It's not even necessarily crazy plays that I'm talking about, but nonetheless, my point that I was bringing up before we went over to the interview, we can look at the scoreboard at the same time. Charlie is actually in the lead right now. No, this is just from the one game. This isn't the total stats. This is just from this one game. 160 points, a good point pickup.
I think what she meant by the whole playing slow thing is what we were trying to say before. She will stay. When you saw it in Painan, she will stay inside the city. If she has the loot to go with, she will stay there, not move until she's forced to by the circle. And once she does that, I think all her 4 kills that she got in this game was off of third partying. She will not take the initial fight. She will wait to line it up. So it's not playing slow. Maybe more play with anticipation. Play it more patient in a way. Maybe slow is just another way of expressing that. Sure. That would be my bet.
I think the better part, though, of what she said was the fact of playing confident. We talk about it so much, Cameron.
Yeah, and especially in solos, you have to play confident, because if you start to get really scared and like, oh, there's someone over there, there's probably someone over there, there's probably someone over there, you just like end up not moving. And I actually do think that's one of the biggest reasons why there are so many players playing on the edge, because third partying is such a large threat. The more teams you have, in duos it was 24, in solos it's 48. The more people you have, more threats. You want to cut off as many lines POV onto you as possible, and one easy way to do that is to have your back against the blue, but that does mean that when it starts to close, you have no choice but to basically book it straight center, especially if it's a hard shift. And so it's a confidence that a lot of these players are going to need to start to build up to say, I need to go for this position. It's going to be more dangerous in this particular moment, but it is likely going to net me a greater profit in the future.
I love that Majesty Charlie brought up the fact of confidence, because it brings it full circle. We talked about the first C of PUBG, consistency during that game, but now we talk about the second C, confidence.
I was waiting for the third one.
No, there isn't a third one.
There's one or two? Okay.
Maybe closure? I don't know.
Combat?
That's true, yeah. Actually, needing to finish those games out. There are a number of times that you see players and teams and
I think
duos or whatever.
just to add to that real quick, I mean, you talk about confidence in-game and how you want to play your game. These guys, I mean, look at where they are. They're sitting behind us in this big studio. They're sitting next to each other with a camera literally straight in their face. Of course, some majority of them are streamers, they'll be used to the whole camera interaction, but there's a completely different type of pressure on when you're sitting in a studio like this, as opposed to when you're sitting in the comfort of being back home and playing your video games.
Yeah, you talk about land pressure a lot,
exactly.
But we'll see how used to it these players can get, how quickly they can. We're going to go on another break as we prepare for round number 3. 3 more left today. Don't go anywhere.